welcome back to part 3, episode 36. Hey, I had some changes throughout the week, and I thought I'd share these with you. Not big changes to the project, but better changes. You see, I decided that I was going to go more of a trailer setup than anything else, and I didn't need all the other complicated stuff. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Basically, in essence, we're going to on-the-fly engineer this. We're going to weld a little in here, then we're going to go through here, and we're going to basically flap wheel everything off. So I'm going to mark this off, and then I'm going to take the flap wheel and then make sure later I have a really good connection so I don't have stuff break off. Really, this was just the simplest method to kind of figuring it all out. A lot of this project is really getting built with what I have laying around, and luckily my dad had a bunch of 1x2 still kicking around for some jobs we did way back when. And this is going to work quite well for what we got. I thought I was going to need a center pin to run down the center, that's why I cleaned that off there, but really I don't think we're going to need that. But I mean, I guess we'll find out in the end. Now, take special attention to my tacking all this on here. I did have a bit of an issue with it bending over to one side because I didn't tack this on. I basically tacked this on all on one side and then I had it kind of bend up a little bit on me. I mean, not perfect, but learn from my mistakes so you don't make the same. Now let's roll this up and figure out how far off we're going to need that pin to hook up to that bearing. I had this really convenient 3x6 laying around underneath my job box there, and this is going to work perfect. All I had to do is cut it into a C channel and then we'll fit it on. Now, one of the techniques that you might be able to learn from me, I mean, maybe not all the safety stuff, missing the guard and no face shield, but is what I do is I pre-mark it out and then I'm going to run that grinder down there just to create a tiny little trench. And basically, it's kind of like drawing your pencil line on there with the grinder. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and then I'm going to actually grind it, and I'm only going to let it contact a little bit into the metal. I'm not going to bury that wheel in there, because if I bury the wheel in there, it's going to just disappear really fast. And this technique's worked really well for me for quite a while to save on my grinder discs and also to get a precision cut almost every time. I mean, as precision as you can get with an angle grinder. Now, I had to cut this little part out because that gearbox underneath needed to, well, have a bit of room to play, so to speak. And, well, just like any of you guys out there, I kind of got a little carried away here. I tacked it onto the pin, and then I decided that we were going to take this for a rip. And we bent a little bit of the stuff up, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, the basic idea of what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to have one bottom bearing that this is going to sit on, and maybe some springs that kind of pull the tension back on itself. I didn't think I needed all the steering gear in there, but let's weld it up and give it a try and see what happens. Hey, and lo and behold, tack welds don't hold up very good, and it did break down. But it was kind of fun riding it around in the yard, and now we got to get back to work and, really button it up good. Also, like I said, it got bent up a little bit. So, you know what we're going to have to do? Yeah, it's all bent up right in here. It's tin, and surprisingly enough, it didn't hold up very well. So, basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this, I think it's a 1.5, and we're going to plan later to put this bearing on there, back in there. And then we're going to build a box all the way around everything and just kind of tack weld it on there. This is kind of insurance for later when the bushings wear out, because I'm trying to push 1,000 pounds worth with it. And then I want to turn the motor and put some horsepower directly to the wheels. This is going to make an easy mod for me later, and, well, it's always good to have options, right? Now, you're probably guessing right now I'm building up a hell of a tan by not wearing a jacket. Well, that's probably not one of my smarter moves, and yeah, I did get a bit of a tan from the welding. I don't think you can actually call it a tan. It's more of a burn situation from like the bad sunlight. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to put a jacket on next time and not have this happen again. Now, remember that spot that I cut out underneath there before? Now you can kind of see fully of what really was cut out of there. And I'm not going to lie to you, that part that I cut out of there is super convenient because a little bit later I'm going to use that as a cross brace. Now, I welded the bejesus out of this stuff here because later on, this is going to be holding probably 300-400 pounds, and those, I think they're called pillar bearings or pillow blocks. And we're going to need that to be pretty beefy. I really love it when a plan comes together. Even when you're faking your way through it, of course. And speaking of faking it, remember that part that I cut out of the bottom? well, it fits exactly in there. I mean, I touched it up a tiny bit with the grinder, but it fit in there like amazing. So I'm pretty stoked about this, and it is coming together so fast. I can't wait to get this out in the yard and actually give it a whirl. Now, this is where it went a little sideways. I figured, yeah, I'll throw the C-clamp on there, and then I'll just bolt it down, and then I'll start drilling the holes, and then I'll grab my, my cordless drill and drill a hole through. And, well, it worked, and then it went off a little bit to the side, and the holes are a little bit crooked, and then I started drilling, and then I fucked up my hand. Not that bad, don't worry, I'm totally fine. But exact moment, you've done this too, and wait, oh, there it is. Classic. And you know what, rolling with the theme of safety, I figured, heck, I got some old checker plating that's all oxidized and gross and stuff. Let's throw a guard on here so we don't get wrapped up into the machine. And I mean, pretty much working with aluminum's like woodworking, really. I mean, the majority of your woodworking tools will work with aluminum. The only thing is, like I told my buddy Poirier, they come off there like rockets. Now, I mean, when you cut with aluminum with your woodworking tools, they come off like bullets, hot bullets. So be really, really careful. Like, I'm not, you notice I'm not too super big for safety, but put a face shield on and put a coat on and eye protection and all that stuff, because you're gonna get hurt if you do it that way. Now, it was just a matter of just tracing it all out and running it through the bandsaw. And this gave me superior results compared to any other tools that I could have used. Now, I'm probably running with a finer tooth on my bandsaw. It's just going to cut a little bit nicer for the aluminum. And I didn't even bother with any cutting wheel or anything, because I don't think it's really necessary. But you just wait. Let's take this out to the yard here, and I'm going to show you a trick to cleaning this up. And I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but you're going to be really impressed with this trick. And spoiler alert, it involves a fine wire wheel. That's right, a wire wheel. So this stuff's been sitting outside, baking in the sun and getting oil and grease and oxidizing, raining on, and I can just come over this and grind this oxidizing off with a wire wheel. And then I'm going to go over it in a kind of a cross pattern, and it's going to clean it up pretty nice. I mean, this isn't exactly something you'd want to put on your Harley Davidson trailer, but hell, I mean, it's good for the yard machine, and it's good enough for me. Now, I think later on, just to save this from oxidizing again, I'm just going to throw some clear coat on that just to preserve it so it doesn't turn gray again. And you know what, to be honest, after 15 minutes of digging around behind the seat of my truck, my service truck out there, I found some sheet metal screws. I had no idea I had these, but I definitely wasn't running to the hardware store, especially with the price of fuel right now. Now it's just coming down to finishing this up, and I'm going to take it out in the yard and give it a whirl. Hey, and don't forget, the price of admission for my videos is a thumbs up, and I really appreciate it. It drives me to make better and better videos, pushes me up the algorithm. And hey, I really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one.